Overall, Craig, Inter will be disappointed they didn't have a bigger advantage going into the second leg.
Absolutely. I mean, they could easily have been going back to Madrid with, 2 or 3 up, without a doubt. And, I think Atletico Madrid will be the happier of the two sides, bearing in mind they didn't look. I suppose we were thinking, how are they going to approach it? They've been quite attacking this season, Simeone's side. Even away from home, you think, what are they going to do? I don't think it was a surprise they were thinking, right, OK, listen, if we get a chance on the break, we'll take it, but we're going to try and be difficult to beat. Which they weren't really, to be honest with you. It was down to the fact Inter missed those chances. But what was disappointing was they had nothing on target in the whole game, Atletico Madrid. We saw a couple of chances, but there was nothing on target. That was disappointing. But I don't think they'll play as badly at home again in Madrid. I still think Inter are slight favourites. Yeah. And they'll be. I think Inter will be looking at it going, do you know what? We'll get this team on the counter-attack. We'll absolutely get them on the counter. But Atletico will be the happier of the two sides because this tie could have been over.
Thuram's fitness will be interesting going into the second leg, given the threat that he was in that first half, and given Arnautovic certainly had some chances, well, more than one, that he should have converted.
Well, if indeed it plays out the way that Craig is talking about, that indeed Inter is going to play on the counter, because you imagine that Atletico Madrid has the responsibility at home to get after Inter, then yes, the speed of Marcos Thuram can create all sorts of issues for Atletico Madrid in those moments of transition defensively. As for the mindset of Atletico Madrid, you were asking, sort of, Inter will be disappointed. If you ask Simeone, I don't know that he's going to be totally disappointed with the scoreline, because even him at the end of the game, when Atletico Madrid seemed to be trying to push forward, his body language to his players was, no, calm down. The ball went out of bounds. They wanted to take it quickly, and he's actually telling a player right next to him, no, calm down. Calm down. We'll take this 1-0, and we'll take that home to the Civitas Metropolitano. Why is it comfortable for them? Because at home they've been great. Yeah. At home they've been dominant. They've only lost one game all season at home, and it was a Copa del Rey semi-final match last week against Athletic Club. Other than that, they've been absolutely, completely perfect at home when you consider them how dominant, how comfortable they feel there. And I think Simeone, while disappointed in the overall performance, the scoreline, he said, given how this game went, we'll take it.
Gab Marcotti joins us. Gab, were you surprised how dominant Inter were today?
Not really. I mean, Inter have been really, really good this season, and they've been good for a reason. I was a bit. I agree with what Ali said. I think Diego Simeone, who's got a lot of experience doing what he does, he says it's 180 minutes, boys. Let's just keep it close, not concede. They conceded 1 goal, but I think clearly Atleti can't play like that the return leg, and they won't play like that. I think we saw a slightly different Inter. I thought Çalhanoğlu had a quiet game, and obviously you've got, as you guys mentioned, the Arnautovic factor. I mean, this is the guy who, when he was young, was supposed to be the next Ibrahimovic. Well, he squandered a hat-trick of chances.
To that point about Atletico doing a job at 1-0, which is perfect for them in a sense. It's not a disaster, but it wasn't really about what they did. It was more about what Inter didn't do. And that, for me, would be a concern for this team, is that even though they were a little bit, had a defensive nous on and were thinking about keeping it tight, they really didn't. They really didn't keep it tight. And it's just down to the fact it was poor finishing, the fact that the tie is still alive. Now, and Ali's right, they've been great at home this season. It's a fantastic atmosphere and all of that. But they actually didn't defend particularly well, which is what they've been noted for in Simeone's time at Atletico Madrid. But actually in the last 18 months, 2 seasons, they haven't really defended as well as they have in the past. What they have done better is an attacking force. They played better football, they created more chances, and up until his injury, Griezmann and Morata were arguably one of the best strike pairings around. Expect Morata to be back in, obviously, with Griezmann up there. But what would worry me was how many chances they allowed Inter to have. They cannot afford to do that back at home.
And your question about Marcos Thuram, your question about the speed of Inter in the attack. We look today and watch Axel Witsel run, and it's like, buddy, you got to move them legs. Got to pump the arms. Come on, Axel. It's like he was moving at a different speed than, say, a guy like Marcos Thuram. And then And of course, we're not the only ones who are paying attention to this. Inter looks at this and said, yeah, it sets up for us so that we can get out in the... If you're going to be defensive, then be defensive. And if you're going to go attack, then at least be a threat in the attack. But they were neither. This was a team that, again, when they get caught in between, when they're not fully committed to the defensive part of the game because they're not nearly as comfortable doing it as they have been in years past, then you don't see how is it that they're going to win a game like this one. We never really saw Antoine Griezmann sort of joining in the attack. We didn't really see the outside players joining in the attack. We didn't really see balls swung in from the outside. Nahuel Molina, who usually supports on the right-hand side. That didn't happen. Atletico Madrid were not really committing numbers forward, and so therefore it allowed Inter to really grow in the game, build confidence, say, okay, it's our game, we're going to take it over. They'll be disappointed that it's no more than 1-0.
What a year this is turning out to be for Inter, Gab.
Yeah, and look, is it a surprise? I mean, let's not forget, this is a team that reached the Champions League final last year and, kept it very, very close against Manchester City. And, of course, they're running away with City. Yeah. We talked about Simeone. I think we have to give credit, again, to Simone Inzaghi, who, I don't think he gets the respect that he really deserves for the job that he's been doing at Inter. Maybe it's the way he looks. He looks like some goofy kid whose goldfish just died or something. But in reality, with his program substitutions, with the fact that Inter have so many different ways of playing, tonight the sort of the midfield web of combinations with Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan, that didn't really happen. So they threaten you in different ways. They can beat you with your speed. They've got wing backs who can be devastating, and he uses it at the right time. If we saw what Dumfries could do when he came on. Should Dumfries have started? Maybe he's a better player than Darmian, but in some ways he wanted Darmian out there early to keep it tight. So these are the little tweaks and that some people might call tinkering, but they work so well. And so on a night like this, Barella's given more responsibility, turns in a tremendous performance. De Vrij filling in at center back. You wouldn't have known that he's a reserve. All these little things that Simone Inzaghi puts together. I mean, this really is a chameleon team, and I think they really get the best out of the talent that they have.
So how do you divvy up going into the second leg if we ask you for a percentage chance, Gab, for both sides? How would you have it?
Well, I think Inter are favourites. And look, they may not be big favourites, but, I was listening when Ali said, they lost one game all season at home. Inter don't need to beat them at home. A draw is sufficient, and there's no away goals or other silliness in play anymore. I think if Inter set up to defend and to hit on the counter, I think if Marcus Thuram is fit, especially, I think Inter can do this. So I'm going to give him a solid 60% chance at this stage.
60-40, Mr. Burley?
60-40, that's where I've been with this tie all along. Nothing changes.
Yeah, well, 60-40 Inter. But that doesn't mean that Atletico Madrid can turn this around. Again, they're a completely different team when they play at home this season. When you look at their defeats this season in La Liga and in all competitions, most of them have been away from home. And it's just in the way they approach the game that have been so different for Atletico Madrid. I'm saying 60-40 Inter. But Atletico Madrid is going to give them everything they can handle in the second leg.
But you look at when they started creating chances in this game, or more chances, and we see this with them all the time. Atleti is when once Inter scored, and for all Inter's good play, the goal comes about from a mistake between two players at the back. And then all of a sudden, Atletico Madrid sort of come to life a little bit, and all of a sudden, the wing backs are pushed forward. There's some crosses coming in the box, and that's kind of what they do. They almost wait until they're forced to get into that final third. And I think it is intriguing when you think here you've got a team that was in the Champions League last year, the Champions League final. They're cruising at the moment in Serie A. As Gab said, the manager's doing a great job. You look at some of these players that were cast-offs at other club, Alexis Sanchez, Mkhitaryan in there, Darmian and others. I mean, there's quite a few of them. And the fact he's doing this job is amazing. But what does Simeone do? What does he do? Does he come out with this unbelievable atmosphere at the Metropolitana, and do they throw everybody forward from the first 5 minutes? It's just not in his DNA. It's almost like he'll sit and wait, and they'll be cautious, and maybe they'll need to get a bloody nose before they go and really start throwing some punches. We just don't know how this team goes about these big games. There is always an element of caution, and it might take Inter doing something for them to get riled up, but it is intriguing, and I'm 60-40, but I totally agree with Ali. I mean, you couldn't rule out the fact that Atletico Madrid could come back and win this tie.
Well, Atletico got 4 more games before that second leg on March 10th, the first of which live on ESPN Plus as they take on Almeria. That should be 3 points, shouldn't it, in theory?
Well, they've not won a game yet. Have they won one yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Home or away?
That's our feature game on Saturday. On Sunday, we're at the Bernabeu for Real Madrid against Sevilla.